Welcome to the Money Collective podcast. We're here to uplift your financial well-being. Your hosts are me, Mel Pierce, and Darlene Yu. We are the co-founders of the Money Collective, and together we have over 50 years of finance and banking experience. We provide the tools, information and guidance to better understand your money and feel confident making money decisions. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to our podcast.
Yeah.
Another episode of fun talking about financial well-being.
That's right.
Well, today it's super exciting because we've got a guest in Larisha Jerome coming up. We'll tell you more about her in a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a special episode for us today.
Definitely. Yes, having a guest speaker and we're very privileged. So we are. More to come. Our truth, Mel.
Okay.
What's your truth this week?
Well, my truth this week is, if you've been following along at all on my journey, I've been going a bit hardcore on my spending at the moment, as in not spending, hardcore not spending. And I've set up my systems because I've got a really short-term goal to go on a holiday. So saving every penny I can, which means that when I go to work, I'm taking my lunch, or when I leave the house, I'm taking food. I'm lucky you fed me this morning. But yeah, just doing things like that, not eating out and just buying random things, only buying exactly what I need. And it's been feeling really good. I've been feeling really empowered about it. And
there are side benefits, Mel. What are the side benefits?
Oh, well, I haven't been buying crappy food. Yeah. So basically my only food source is coming from the supermarket. And I'm really shopping outside of the supermarket. Because I don't want to buy any extra crap that I don't need. So if it's not good, not buying it. So my diet has been better. I'm doing lots more home cooking, less instant meals, and that's inspired me to get more fit. So I've been running again. I've been feeling really good. Not spending money on alcohol. Like, that's a big no. It just doesn't fit with my values. Like, I think it's really getting me aligned with what I really want.
Yeah. So how good is that? What a big side benefit. And people think, budgeting money, I'm just going to be restrained, I won't be able to do anything. Yes. But actually what I hear in that is I actually feel much, that you're feeling better.
So much
actually
better.
More liberated. Not chained, to society. And,
that's right.
Just losing time. I feel like even you're getting time back and spending it where you want to.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, admiration. I am watching this project and seeing, how it plays out even longer term after the holiday.
1 month into the hardcore amnesty on spending. So my real truth for this week has got to do with that. So I took my daughter into work with me this week, and she's 15. She was hanging around. We work at the shops, like a big shopping centre, like there's a mall, and we're in there, and she's like, we have to buy this. Oh my gosh. And talking me into buying things that I didn't want to buy. Like, there was makeup, and she's like, you really need this. And she's, because we've got an event coming up, and, she really talked me into it, but I would not have even been in that shop. I definitely wouldn't have bought anything. And I bought $88 worth of things that I wouldn't have purchased, and I money shuffled between my accounts because I have no budget for this, and it made me feel sick and angry while I was there. So I felt angry at her when this was happening, and then I had, like I said, bought food to work, and there was plenty of food for us, and I don't want to eat that, and we're at the shops and she's hungry, and I thought, you can go to the supermarket and buy a salad. That I'm cool with that. And then she's like, no, she talked me into Guzmani Gomez. So we're standing in the line, and then I said, you can get a mini burrito. And she's like, no, I want a big one. And I'm like, so like all of this, and my whole body on the inside, it's like not, because I'm then dealing with, I think the hard thing with children is I've got my personal values, and it's easy to manage myself when I'm on my own. But when we're in that stage, I've got kids who have got opinions, and what they want is not aligned to what I want, but I am their source of money. And I found that really difficult to navigate. and I wasn't prepared for it. I kind of in the morning knew that we were going to run into some of this.
Yeah.
But then we didn't even buy any food. She got angry with me and we just both stormed off, and we ended up being hangry. So usually the last month I felt so good because I've been so organized with my food. I am never hungry. Like I am plentifully supplied, but that I went from that to complete scarcity. Like my values were triggered.
Yep.
And I was hungry.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And I spent money.
All the things you don't want to do.
So I'm really struggling with knowing how to navigate that at the moment when there's challenges.
I think this is just a great thing for our audience, and if you're listening, to listen to, because what I take out of that is we need to, because I can totally relate. I've got a nearly 13-year-old daughter, and it's very similar. I think what I hear is being aware that that's going to happen to begin with, because our kids are our kids, and they're environments where they're socializing with lots of kids, and they're doing all sorts of things, and they want to do what they do. So I think just to begin with, having awareness of how you get caught up in or spend money on things that you don't want to, and you're not even thinking about that. So just put a lens on that awareness, and I think awareness brings change. So maybe next time, I don't know, what would you do differently?
I would set stronger ground rules before going out, and maybe acknowledge that there might be some spending, and give her a budget for her to manage, so then I don't have to manage that for her.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with, instead of in the moment being really frustrated.
Yeah, I can relate, because I think in a podcast gone by not long ago, I felt, particularly over the holidays, Lily was coming at me all the time for money. I need this, I want that, it was all the time. And that was really triggering and frustrating for me, because the things that she was buying, again, aren't aligned to my values. So I talked about starting, school with a weekly budget that has to cover discretionary, and it also teaches her independence. So that's what we've done. A $20 weekly budget. I've said if you don't save it and something comes up and your friends want to go to the movies, you don't have the money, you can't go. So, I think there'll be a big learning curve there for her. But also, that's the barrier. That's the rule.
Yes.
The rules are being set. Now I just have to be strong enough to follow through.
That's it. All right, let's do this. I got it.
All right, you got it. Work in progress, always. But yeah, I think, I take out of that, just to be aware is the first step. And then you can put some things in action. My truth is linked to my son. There's definitely a theme constantly with us, because I suppose they're our world. Is my son is moving we're in Melbourne, he's moving to Sydney for university, and we have let him know that we are not financially supporting him. All of our philosophies and what we talk about, and the benefits to our kids, if they need to, for independence and growing up and being adults. I feel like he's just starting to adult, so, he's going to do that. I think that's been a bit of a shock to the system. So he's been really paralysed in getting stuff done. And it's not just about money, but money is a contributor to that. So, he's been on flatmates.com, and he looks at what the rent is, it's somewhere to live. And, it's been in Sydney, it seems around Macquarie University is going, it seems like it's around 300 a week to 400 a week, and some of those high ones include all the bills, so, and he's gone.
How am I going to do that?
He is freaking out, I've got back to nuts and bolts. Do your numbers. What do you need?
Forecast.
What's the gap? Out. Where's the money going to come from?
Yep.
And he has been, in fact, he probably deprives himself to save. So he got himself into a position, he's got $18,000 in the bank, which is plenty of backup money, right? So he's got plenty of backup money to get up there, get started. He has to pay a bond, and find somewhere to live. Anyway, he, big discussion, him and I, a couple of days ago, he booked a flight and he left first thing yesterday morning, and he's been looking at some places, gone to uni, and he feels really good. He's out and about, he's adulting, and opportunities are coming his way. So I'm hoping he comes back with a place he can go and live. He has to start in a couple of weeks. So, but the message I take, I'd like to, for people to think about is that sometimes we're scared to spend money. And we don't look at the bigger picture. So for him, I said to him, this is an investment in your future. This is what you want to do, So sometimes I think particularly savers can actually deprive themselves of things because of the fear of spending.
That's right.
Without actually evaluating when it needs to be spent.
Yes.
For what you're trying to do and achieve. So that's my message today.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, Logan. You've got this.
He has. Yeah. So maybe I'll have to bake into our budget, a couple of Sydney holidays or weekends to go and see, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So good.
All right.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yep. That's very therapeutic for me to do that little session.
So.
Can I just add to mine at the very end?
Yeah.
You know how I said we went home hangry? So even though I had a lunchbox full of food.
Oh, you didn't eat it because you were
I was so
highly
worked up.
Yeah, worked up.
And then we're driving home and I went to grab my lunchbox from the back of the car and I was going to start eating it. And then I was stopped at traffic lights and the light changed from red to green and I was at the very beginning and I merged lanes into somebody. I was not even...
concentrating.
And all the cars were honking me and tooting me. Mm-hmm. That was the worst driving I can remember doing in a very long time. And they were like, what is this crazy woman doing? Mm-hmm. I totally blacked out.
Yep. Well, when we deprive, it's a physiology, first of all. You haven't got food in your body to help make good decisions, but
it was
all of the anxiety and the,
I'm taking this so seriously. Oh my gosh. So that must come into, because I'm like one of those black and white people and I go between the saver and the spender.
Yeah.
And I have that conflict between me all the time. So then my body kind of does that thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to pay attention to your money personality. And if you want to find out what your money personality is, then head to the Money Collective website and take the free quiz.
Yes. It gives you great insight to the way you behave and, maybe some changes you want to make.
Yep.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is we have Larisha Jerome as a special guest with us today, and we are super, super privileged. She's a First Nations lady, and she's young, and she's so inspirational.
Yes.
She works for
First Nations
Foundation, but she also has a podcast called Rich Black Women. I'd encourage everyone to have a listen to that. She is definitely a trailblazer. She is
something special about her.
Leading the way for women and First Nations people in financial well-being. So obviously the alignment with us is she actually does a lot of financial well-being in First Nations communities, and it's very aligned to financial well-being and what we do. So I took away from that time with Larisha, there's so much even opportunity, things that we can add into our coaching and our programs, from some of the First Nations community style of doing things. So,
that's right.
Yeah,
and I think the main difference is that we're so singular and we act as little islands, whether it's ourselves as individuals or our family unit. And our lives are so fast paced. So for me, the message was to connect more with the people and the land around me. So thanks, Larisha. I've really appreciated that chat that we had. So we hope you all enjoy it as much as we did.
Great.
The Money Collective acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and our continued connection to land, waterways and communities. We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture and to elders past and present. Sovereignty was never ceded.
Well, welcome, Larisha, to Uplift Your Financial Wellbeing podcast with us today. Thank you so much. We've been so excited to have you on our podcast. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, so good. And for our listeners, would you mind telling us a bit about who you are and about the work that you do?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Larisha Jerome, and I'm a proud Jarowair, Wakka and Wulli woman. All of my family is from Southeast Queensland. I'm literally related to everyone in Queensland, honestly. I have such big family on both sides of my mum and my father's side. But I did grow up on Darree country out in Western Sydney, and I've lived back home in Brisbane for the last 6 years now. But yeah, and I'm currently the manager of Women's Economic Empowerment and Business Education at First Nations Foundation, outside of my 9 to 5, I guess. I'm also a self-concept and mindset coach. And yeah, that's kind of a bit about me.
Absolutely. That's so amazing. And you've also got your own podcast as well, Rich Black Women.
Yes. Oh, yes, that as well.
Yes. So everybody should tune into that one as well, because that is a fantastic listen as well.
It is great. I've really enjoyed it, and just some insight and the learnings that I've got by listening have been great, Larisha. I just, we were really fortunate to meet Larisha at a women's finance event, and just the opportunity, because Larisha works with financial wellbeing as well, to connect and learn from each other, and particularly learn from Larisha, I thought was, amazing. So, yeah, thanks for joining. Yep.
So would you mind sharing a bit about what your financial wellbeing journey has been so far?
Yeah. So even just, I think when you meet people, you're always like, hey, like, what do you do for work? All of that. That's kind of the first question. But within our culture, it's always, who are you? Who's your mob? Where are you from? That's kind of how introduction. So I always go back to, my personal experiences, my lived experiences before my professional experiences. So yeah, just a bit of my financial journey. I think, I've really lived in a lack scarcity mindset. I guess that's kind of, intergenerational as well. When I was a kid, my first memories was, living in a women's refuge, with my mom, a single mother, with my brother as well. So that was kind of my childhood. And then, I was in resi care for a bit while I was, very young. I think I was about 17. And then and then I ended up, living in resi care, and I was homeless at the time. And then, that was kind of, my early childhood situation. And then I guess I just really worked hard to, learn, educate myself as well, and just accidentally falling into finance roles, which I guess that's just how it is these days. I started off, a banker. I worked in financial hardship, debt collector. What else? Oh, in the financial abuse prevention unit at Women's Legal Service, and just, just working in all of those roles to just be able to, learn more, educate myself, and be able to, kind of use my lived experiences, my professional experiences, and just bring it into the one program, which is exactly what I do here at the foundation. So, my financial journey has been a journey, that's for sure. And definitely, my perception of wealth has definitely changed along the way as well. I grew up in a family where I wasn't taught about money. Conversations about money were non-existent, and now it's literally like a daily conversation with me and my girls. So that's kind of where that's coming from. I didn't grow up with money or generational wealth or anything like that. It was really,
just taking up every single opportunity that I could to be able to, harness all that information and then provide that all back to my community and just making sure that it's all culturally relevant, culturally safe. And I think the best thing for, a lot of our mob is to making sure that it resonates with them as well. It's like that real, raw, honest stuff and that transparency. And I think that's what the power is, just along my financial journey as well.
You make that sound so easy. Like, as in, like, that it just came about and that's how it was. But I'm sure, like, it wasn't, because you've really moved mountains. Like, to get that story is phenomenal. To do it all on your own in a way and bridge, the two worlds of where you've come from culturally and then the banking and finance world, and go, well, hang on, I can empower myself with this work and others around me.
Exactly. And I think my toxic trait is that I love proving people wrong. So I'm like,
that's great.
Yeah, that's it. Because I remember,
I think you need that.
Yeah, exactly. And
in
like
this industry.
Yeah, for sure. And like moving into my first ever apartment, I was like, no, I'm going to be so good with my money. I literally slept on a mattress on the floor in this tiny little shoebox of a little apartment. But I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. And then when I bought my house, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the whole house.
And
this is crazy.
So if I can do it, so like each little win like pushed you forward to go, I can do this. And if I can do it, other people can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I didn't grow up with role models. So I guess what I've worked so hard in my life is to, just be that role model for myself and just making sure that my younger version of myself is safe with my current version. And that's all that I could ever want in life. So I'm like, yep, I made it. Nothing else matters. That's all that it is for me.
And I suppose that's different for so many people, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you guide, I suppose, the people in your community to find that purpose or what motivates them or encourage them to become, part of the system, and showing and teaching them about money skills?
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, generationally, they say that the stolen generation or, all of that was so long ago, but it was literally just one generation above me, so that's kind of the conversation that we're having as well. And we've never come from money. We've had all of that completely stripped from us. We think about rations, getting paid, stolen wages is another thing as well. And, we're still not even getting the reparations from that now. So you think about that and then you think about the impact that that has on us. That's our parents or our grandparents that never got to be in control of their own money. And then you think about a lot of the communities up north as well, is that they're living on, the basic cards. And it's like that is further disadvantaging them because it's making them not feel in control or in power of their own money. It's being controlled by somebody else. So it's like, how can you change that narrative? And I think we always hear, generational curses, generational trauma, but we don't talk about our generational strengths. So that's kind of where I like to focus on. Instead of, that lack, scarcity, and that deficit conversation, we just like to bring it back to, making sure that we're grounding our mob. It's, we weren't disadvantaged because we just were. It was for a reason. It's not in our control that we were disadvantaged. So it's kind of, just ensuring that they know that now we're going to use that generational trauma and alchemize that into our generational strengths. And then I guess just going from, being in that mindset and actually thriving now. So it's all about, mindset motivation as well, and just making sure that people are standing in their power and they know that they deserve more. So I think with our women's program, that's one of the biggest keys for us. It's really focusing on that self-worth part of it, releasing money, shame, all of that stuff, because it's been so generationally ingrained within us, but now we've got all of this opportunity. So it's just reminding everyone of the opportunity, allowing them that safety, that security, and all of that to be able to actually, just want better as well, and just know that we can live a life that's on our terms.
Do you have questions? Yeah, you go,
I was going to say,
Darlene.
how do you practically do that? Is that getting people together in community and having conversation, or
yeah, so I think one thing that a lot of financial services assumes is that every single community is the same, which is absolutely wrong. You could go into a community and, the way that they perceive wealth is completely different to somebody in an urban, area. So that's one of the biggest things. Some people are visual learners, some people don't want to sit on a computer and go through modules. And so the way that we do it is we just change it to more conversation based. And sharing stories, because that's exactly how we heal. And there's a lot of people that have that money shame and think that they're going through things by themselves, but once you hear those stories, you're like, oh no, there's so many other people that are going through that as well. So that's kind of one of the ways that we do that. And then we tailor it, obviously the youth. How can we make finance fun? Honestly, that's another thing. So just, bringing activities. I like to do vision boards with the younger ones. Just really visualizing a life and actually having goals and things as well is one of the most important things. And then, we just go out into community. We make sure that we're actually going in there and asking the community what they want to learn. That's one of the most powerful things, is actually going in, listening to community, because they know their community best. They're going to tell you what they want. And that way, it's that reciprocity, and you're just making sure that you're out there making value, making impact, and you're not just going in, speaking at them and then running away and just leaving it up to the financial counselors to, pick up the pieces. So that's one of the most important things, is when you go out into community, the community will always tell you what they want. So even when we went to Torres Strait Island, we did a workshop under this massive, beautiful tree outside. So it's just being adaptable and just making sure that you're just bringing it back to life. You know what I mean? Like, nobody likes to talk to money at all.
It's boring.
Yeah,
it's just
boring.
the means, isn't it, to live?
Exactly. So it's just bringing it back to, grounding ourselves and making sure that we're just making sure that, people are talking about what they want to talk about, and just making sure that we're cultivating that safety, and, just for them to be able to open up like that as well.
And how big is your team? Like, how far reaching is it for impact? Because I assume that impact would be hard. And once you go in and have those conversations, like, how do they continue those conversations as well?
Yeah, so we've got a small team, actually. So I remember when I first started, I was actually the first facilitator in the last couple of years. Yeah, it was a lot of work. We were traveling all over. So we're actually national. So we go out and do training all across Australia. So lucky now that we're in the position where we can grow our teams, which is absolutely amazing, because obviously there is a lot of work to be done. And there is a lot of communities that would absolutely thrive on, having a workshop within their community as well. So yeah, we're all over, which is really good. I guess that's such a privilege for us as well, to be able to go out, see communities that we have never been to either, and just learning from them as well, and just seeing the differences within the communities. I think that is the really cool part of it as well, because obviously, as I said before, every single community is different, and the way that you teach in the remote community is completely different to how you would teach here in the city.
Yeah, and from a thought leadership perspective, how do we bridge the gap between, all, you're saying each community is different, and all people are different, aren't they? So even, the Western way of doing things, here, how do we bridge these gaps and bring us together,
Yeah, so I guess, collaboration is really important. I think a lot of people don't like what's it called, taking accountability. That's one of the biggest things as well. And obviously it feels very uncomfortable at the start, just being accountable, knowing that you need to learn more. But it's just, going into these communities, learning from them. We've existed for over 60,000 years, I think. And we think about now the Western side, none of those systems work for any of us. You know what I mean? None of these systems have been built to support us or anything like that. So it's like, why don't you take a seat back and actually listen to the people that have thrived for so many years? You know what I mean? So it's just, educating yourself, making sure that you're linking in with these grassroots communities as well, because they're already in the community doing the work. So it's just important that you go in with them and learn from them as well. And, educating, supporting Black businesses as well is another important thing. And just making sure that, you're being purposeful, not performative. That's one of my favorite things ever. It's not about the clout or just ticking the box or having a token Aboriginal person within the organization. It's about actually making sure that you're being intentional, purposeful, and that your values align with, just making whatever work that you're doing the best that you can as well to support First Nations people.
So get involved is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Don't sit back and have that. You can't form opinions from, taking the back seat, which is really hard, which I think that a lot of Australians actually do that. And we've seen that recently, very quick to form opinions, but without being informed at all. And I think this is a journey for us too, because Darlene and I have these conversations regularly about how we can become more involved in our local Indigenous culture. And we struggle with that. Like, we're not sure who to go. So we were so excited to have you, because I think that your method of communication and talking is so I don't know, it's very easy to understand. I feel welcome as well too.
That's good.
And I'm sure that's everywhere, but it's taking that first step and knowing where to go and what to do, I suppose, in your local community. But I think that there's people everywhere that know. So it's about actually putting yourself out there. And I think it's a bravery thing too, having that courage.
Exactly.
I think it's courage and learning and listening, and that's why, I'm super excited as well, and we're the same, Larisha. We really want to make a difference. I'm not into ticking boxes. It's not into, if it's not adding any value, why do it? And, how can we, support our communities, and financial well-being is just about life and gives us
learning from each other, being open-minded.
That's right. And
exactly.
I think so many, as human beings, when I listen to your podcast, I hear lots of similarities, like individuals, and then I hear all the differences, it's like, hey, we just listen more. And actually, when you said common stories, there's stories even, they're very different in community, I'm sure, but deep down, what we want and having a purpose that you talk about. We all want goals and vision and purpose, and so we can run our own race and, do our own thing and be empowered and feel happy in ourselves, so how can we, just get that message out there for everybody?
Exactly. And you'll notice as well, there's so many communities that will welcome you with open arms. If you're willing to just go in there, be courageous, wanting to learn more as well. Like, we're the most generous culture and the most rich culture on the planet, you know what I mean? And it's just all about sharing that with other people as well. And I think that's what the power is. And, just making sure that you're giving back to our communities as well. Like, you can donate to communities, support them, share their businesses online, and just, making sure that you're being a purposeful ally. I think that's one of the biggest things as well. And when you're an ally, it's you just sitting back and allowing them to teach you. And it's just allowing that to happen as well, which is, it's amazing.
And I think too, living in an urban area, I don't know if this is just me making up excuses or whether I feel like it's more of a barrier, because when we travel around Australia, we see like the Indigenous culture is stronger in other places, like, or it's more visual, you can see it, and living in our urban lives, like we just go about it every day and it's so easy to forget. I think that's what we do because, and this is where we need to slow down and kind of find how we can root ourselves within our community too. And this is where I think we can learn from each other too. I think the biggest weakness of our culture, Western society, is that we're so fast paced all the time. We're just rushing around everywhere and we literally don't see what's in front of us. And that's that connection, the disconnect, I suppose, because that's what we do. And we're so focused also on our individual families and what's happening with us. So you literally have to slow down, I would say, and think about what it is that you want. So that we can, like Darlene said, there's so many similarities, but our differences are, we need to kind of acknowledge, and that's what's prohibiting us from connecting sometimes, because it's that fast pace.
It's bringing it into the conscious, like I feel like spending the time going, learning, being courageous. So, if that's a message I can take out of today.
Yeah, and it's just, it's very, the Westernized culture is very individual based.
Yes.
With our culture, it's community based. We're here to look after country, country looks after us. We look after community, community looks after us. Westernized culture, it's very individual based, and that's just how it is. And that's what they believe will bring generational wealth. And it's all about land acquisition, all of these things. Exactly. Ownership, all of these things. And it's like, you need to take yourself away from this, come back to who you actually are, ground yourself. And, there's Indigenous culture, there's all different cultures in Australia. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Australia, is that we welcome everybody here and there is culture everywhere. Because remember, everywhere that you go in Australia, it's all Aboriginal land. So all you have to do is just go out to your local Aboriginal organisation, link in with them, ask them to be involved in, they'll always have something going on in the community. So it's actually just about you going out there and looking for those opportunities as well, because they're literally everywhere. There isn't, and I think the only way that you think that you don't know about it is because you're too focused on yourself. That's what it is.
That is so good.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Hate to be the harsh one, but that's just the reality.
It is so true, though. And I think that when we talk about this, like, that we yearn for more community and we yearn for that, almost every human does, but then like we just get lost so quickly. And before we started recording, we had that quick conversation about Christmas, and you have some downtime, and then everyone's straight back into it. So it's that instant forgetting of what we want, because we're so programmed and so conditioned to the life that we live.
And that's the Westernized Australian dream. That's what it is.
Yeah, what a dream.
Work, buy a house, retire, that's it. But for us, even on the holidays, you can't rest when you work for community. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like, I could not rest, thinking about the things in Palestine. That's exactly what happened to our ancestors. We don't have time to rest within community. And then we've got Jan 26 that just came up, and then we're still, going through the process of the Yes campaign last year as well. So we've got that, we've got Christmas, we've got all of the things that we have to think about with community. And, what we feel, because we're so connected to everything, is we feel a collective shift. That's what it is. And everything that's happening, and that's bringing up all of that as well. You know what I mean? So that's another thing, is that we never shut off when you work in community. That's that doesn't exist, unfortunately. And I guess it's just about, navigating how to protect your energy and also make sure that you're cultivating safety around you and making sure that you're staying close to those people that keep you safe as well. That's another thing. Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, how was your break?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it was great."
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's on the agenda for you, Larisha, in 2024?
Yeah, geez, there is so much happening, which is very exciting. I've actually got a TED talk coming up in March, and I will be talking about decolonizing Western money concepts. So
That is so cool.
yeah, I know. At
So this
first,
is
I
the
was like,
system you're talking about that
yes,
doesn't work.
we're talking about decolonizing a system that wasn't built to support us, or so I don't think they're ready, but it's going to be exciting, and
It's
especially
good to disrupt.
exactly what's that saying, disrupt or be disrupted. So I've chosen to disrupt everyone, and yeah, it just goes with the theme. So for TEDx Cecil Street, the theme is rebels and renegades, so I just thought, perfect timing. I think 2024 is the time as well. So that's kind of the first thing coming up. Luckily, we're expanding our business education program, so our business finance, which is going to be huge this year, which is amazing. So we've got someone that just started. So that'll see us, busy for the year, which is exciting. And just, expanding our networks, spreading more awareness as well. I think, we're such a small team. We're just a non-for-profit, and people think we're such, this huge team. But it's like, how can we spread awareness for people to see the amazing work that we're doing so that we can better support people as well in the future? So that's kind of our biggest focus for the year, is just expanding our program, spreading awareness, and, just getting more people trained up as well.
Yeah, to coach on the ground.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fantastic, and just broaden your reach. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about even learning. So we've spent a few years developing our program, and we've got a program that we deliver for financial wellbeing, and we've done some external studies. Mel and I have worked in it for 50 years, so really it all comes from our experience. And it's not out of a book, which it's real working with people for that period of time, and developing a program. And now we take that into workplaces, and we are about to deliver an online course. But what I also hear from you, Larisha, is there's so much opportunity, because we are definitely continuous improvement people. We don't stand still. So being able to even make our program even better with some of those suggestions that you mentioned earlier in community are just as relevant for individuals, because individuals do live in Western world quite isolated a lot of the time. Having people around you and doing all what you need to do to feel better about yourself is super, super important. So some of those practical tips that you gave,
particularly
I think,
around
are
money.
awesome.
Like in our society, because we're all islands or whatever, we think that we can't talk about money, or we don't share our money stories. And that's exactly what we need to be doing, is sharing those stories, breaking down the barriers, being able to talk honestly about how we really feel, and exactly how you shared your money story earlier about your background. And I think, we're not all perfect. No one is perfect. Nobody's got this money thing story. This money's sorted.
Warts and all ups and
Exactly.
downs, through life. Nobody's got this nailed in
And
life.
it's a forever journey as well. Like, we're going to be forever learners. You know what I mean? That's another thing. You can't assume that you know it all, because we're always going to, and the economy changes, the world changes. You just never know. So
Change takes time too. I think when we started this out and we started our business 4 years ago, I thought, wow, everyone's going to get what we say, and they're going to be on board, and we're going to be huge, and everyone's going to understand. But I've had to really understand that this work takes time, and that's okay. And I think that can be really overwhelming at times too. And I think, about you and the work that you've got ahead of you, a whole community, that you can
definitely
influence. But we can only do little bits at a time. But I think what I see is that our impact is large. I just see it in ways that I didn't expect, probably. Like, our reach is coming, and I think the more collaborative we can be with you and others who have got the same idea, I think the next 5 to 10 years will really be changing the way people think and feel about their money.
Yeah, for sure. And what I said, I think the thing that I loved the most about you both and the program that you have in your podcast as well is that you've been so genuine and just transparent and just authentic. And I think a lot of people forget that. I know they say that love is the biggest energy in the world, but authenticity is. So when you're authentic in everything that you're doing, that means you're purposeful. That means you're doing something that's making you passionate, that makes you have purpose and gives you that authenticity as well. And that's the highest vibration, the highest energy in the world. So I think once you're on that energy, you're in that, it will attract exactly what you're meant to do. You know what I mean? That's one of my biggest life lessons, is that no matter what I'm doing, I'm making sure that I'm authentic, even if it's scary, even if I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, but it just attracts everything that's meant to be in your life. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to remember all the time as well, is that, you can be so stressed out and be like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. But as long as you're being authentic, everything that's meant for you will always come back to you. Yeah.
Oh, I think that is so wise. I think it's a life journey to be really your true, authentic self. And, we talk about this, but I'm on this journey for 20 years probably. And you have to keep working at it, because it's so easy to put a protection up because we're so scared of being vulnerable. But being vulnerable just brings so much a richer life and so much better relationships. And being honest with yourself, it just helps you live a better life. It's everything. So I'm totally with you. That is awesome. And if you had to leave a few tips with our listeners, or for us, what would you say? Yeah.
Well, listen to the Rich Black Women podcast.
Yeah.
Check out the work that we do at First Nations Foundation and donate to First Nations Foundation as well. Just to ensure that, we're able to go out into community and continue the amazing work that we do, because I believe that healing ourselves is what generational wealth is. And we can only do that by hitting more people, making more impact, and, being out there on the grounds as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll support that. We'll put something up on our socials for First Nation Foundation as well.
Oh, lovely.
Definitely.
And
thank you.
See what we can get the troops together to
achieve.
And,
and thanks so much. In summary for me, I wrote down a ton of lists. I couldn't help it. I had to grab my notebook and my pen because I'm so intrigued. That's how I remember stuff. Yes. So some of the key things that I heard, remember to listen, have conversation, vision boards and goals, and that is such good advice for everybody. We're all different. Just remind ourselves that we are all different. Be purposeful. You mentioned cultural safety, and that was just really interesting to me. And I think for everybody, having your people and your safety around you to have courageous and honest and conversations and being authentic and real, so we can deal with stuff we might need to deal with or to grow, is really important. Tailor, everybody's different, so it does need to, be tailored to people. Give back to community, and share stories. I know that's a long list, but that's what I wrote down. So I would say thank you very much. I would love to keep this conversation going with you. And, as a personal goal, I'd love to be courageous and get more involved and listen and learn some more from our First Nations community. So that's my goal for 2024. Yeah.
Awesome.
Lovely.
Thanks, Larisha. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. At The Money Collective, we provide financial wellbeing premium coaching, mortgage broking and workplace financial wellbeing programs, which we couldn't do without the seamless support of our fabulous team.
If you'd like to find out more, head to themoneycollective.com.au or our socials to take action and engage our services. In our Facebook group, join the conversation and help us break down the taboo around money.
All content in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is general in nature. For tailored personal advice, please seek out a professional.